There's this theory that these scientists came up with after studying tribes in India and Africa, South America. The smaller tribes didn't have any government, didn't need any. They could sit down and talk out their problems, decide where to plant crops, to hunt. It was just a big family, really. But when the number of people got up around 500, if there wasn't any government, the strongest people would take advantage of the weakest. Every time, without fail. They would enslave, rape, steal, enrich their lives at the expense of other people's lives. Government's man's way of trying to control our behavior, but it can't be controlled. That's what we are. Sooner or later, the kind of people that would enrich themselves at your expense, we use the government to do it. And mark my words, one day they'll create laws to control what we say, how we think. They'll outlaw our right to disagree if we let them.
Something massive is happening behind the scenes, and it's not just the weather that's being manipulated. On the surface, it looked like a tragic natural disaster in Texas. But when you peel back the curtain, you start seeing military-grade tech, wiped satellite data, and children vanishing under cover of darkness. This wasn't a flood, it was a strike, a weather weapon strike. And the targets? The children of patriots. Weather warfare exposed. On Independence Day, as Americans celebrated freedom, a biblical flood swept through central Texas, killing at least 27 people, including 9 children, and leaving over 20 young girls missing from a summer camp called Camp Mystic, the epicenter of the storm. But this wasn't just any camp. Camp Mystic is known as a haven for children of military families, whistleblowers, and Christian conservative leaders. And that made it a target. According to white hat military sources, the flood wasn't natural. It was geoengineered, a weaponized storm activated with precision. Satellite radar picked up microwave pulse anomalies 48 hours prior. Spiral-shaped cloud formations, unnatural and artificial, appeared overhead. Then, just before impact, the NOAA servers mysteriously lost satellite records from the area. This wasn't an act of God, it was a deep state operation, masked as climate chaos. The missing girls and GPS convoys, the most disturbing intel, 20 girls vanished and 7 GPS anomalies were tracked leaving the flood zone during the 90-minute blackout. These convoys were escorted by unmarked, non-governmental black ops vehicles. White hat operatives suspect these were imposters posing as federal agents, taking advantage of the chaos to abduct children under the radar. At least 4 of the missing girls have direct family ties to ongoing investigations into elite trafficking and bioweapon profiteering. This was not random. This was targeted. Trump's response, military rescue instead of FEMA. Within hours, President Trump, not FEMA, activated Emergency Executive Order 2771, authorizing a special military rescue operation. The mission was led by White Hat Special Command units, bypassing the deep state-controlled federal infrastructure. Result? Over 850 survivors rescued, including multiple girls believed to be lost. More than 240 water rescues were executed by the 101st Airborne Division, which had been stationed in Texas since January under Trump's directive. These soldiers didn't just find people. They found evidence, unmarked electronics, radiation anomalies, and military-grade tech debris. All signs point to an engineered environmental strike. Geoengineering networks exposed patriots. Who funds these weather weapons? Start with the usual suspects. Bill Gates has invested billions in climate manipulation tech, including cloud seeding balloons and artificial atmospheric injections. George Soros bankrolls UN-backed resilience zoning programs in Texas, preparing for land seizures after man-made disasters. And behind them all, the globalist financial puppeteers, BlackRock and Vanguard, both with ownership stakes in geoengineering contractors linked to military operations. The World Economic Forum, their leaked internal docs label Texas as a sovereignty threat zone, Why? Because Texas still believes in faith, freedom, and firearms. Land grab under cover of chaos. The deep state has a long history of using weather to erase communities. They burned down Paradise, California. They torched Lahaina, Maui, and now they're targeting Kerrville, Texas. After every natural disaster, they invoke Agenda 2030 protocols to seize land from displaced victims. They call it sustainable development. We call it what it is, strategic takeover. Even in Los Angeles, landowners like Grant Cardone are pushing back, suing local governments for what he calls the biggest land grab in U.S. history. The playbook is clear. Destroy, declare, confiscate. But this time, it's different. Trump's team is blocking all disaster-linked land seizures. Every fake claim tied to Agenda 2030 is being invalidated. Cleaning House, NOAA, FEMA, DHS under investigation. As of this update, over 110 federal employees from NOAA, FEMA, and DHS have had their clearances revoked, pending investigation for data tampering, obstruction, and unauthorized weather operations. The swamp is being drained from the inside out. EBS warning and final message. Sources confirm emergency broadcast system protocols are being prepared. Expect alerts and encrypted messages over the next 7 days. This is not a drill. And to the deep state, there will be no hiding. Not in Geneva, not in Brussels, not even in your dumbs beneath Denver. The light is coming. The battle is no longer for control. The battle is for our children, for our future, and for the soul of this nation.
Breaking. Multiple water rescues are underway in Durham, North Carolina, as severe flash flooding hits the area.
Be investigating me for.
Brennan used to run the CIA. Now he's suddenly showing signs of Biden brain. Then he blamed Trump for what he did.
If a president of the United States is willing to weaponize intelligence and justice and law enforcement investigators, and the people who head up these departments and agencies are willing to bow to it, we really are in deep, deep trouble.
Clinton fixer Mark Elias is begging like a dog to bury the story. Watch.
I am imploring, honestly, I'm just imploring the media, do not report this as a legitimate investigation. Do not report this as they're opening a investigation into John Brennan. We will see where it goes. Report this as the misuse, the abuse, the authoritarian takeover of the Department of Justice. That should be the headline.
But it's too late. The feds are locked in. Cash gave us a warning months ago.
When I first got to the Bureau, found a room that Comey and others hid from the world in the Hoover building, full of documents and computer hard drives that no one had ever seen or heard of. Locked the key and hid access and just said, no one's ever going to find this place.
Comey literally built a Russiagate panic room in the FBI headquarters, and Cash just tripped right onto it. Oops. Comey and Brennan are just the tip of the swamp. But Lubin Tubin says they're as innocent as OJ.
What's public is there is no decent basis for this investigation. And I think it's really important to point out the number of Trump's political enemies who are now under investigation by the Trump administration. He has asked for investigations of so many political enemies, and that is something that is deeply un-American in this country.
Barack Hussein Obama. Why isn't he under investigation? Lovers Page and Strzok texted, POTUS wants to know everything we're doing. You're saying Brennan and Comey ran the spy web behind Barack's back? Yeah, right. This goes all the way to the top. And they never had the goods. Clapper testified in 17, quote, I never saw any direct empirical evidence that the Trump campaign was plotting, conspiring with the Russians to meddle.
Do you think Senator Gillibrand is a crook?
No, and I do not think all politicians are crooks. And
why did you call her a crook?
I did not call her a crook. Now, Senator, you need to focus on this bill.
Right,
you're doing this again. You did it the last hearing. You need to read the bill.
Role in stablecoin regulation, $217,000 in crypto donations. You tweeted that.
Yes, I do.
And then you said, the crypto industry is buying Congress and the White House. This won't end well. Why do you think the crypto industry is buying Senator Gillibrand?
I said, look at the campaign contributions from this industry.
Do you think they've bought her?
No, I said, look at the campaign contributions.
You said they bought her. Do you think they bought her?
Senator, you need to focus on this bill instead of trying to distort my Twitter.
Last time, one of my
you
colleagues
were quoting what a Marxist in Chicago said about
And what evidence do you have that she's a crook?
I said there is massive amount of campaign contributions coming into this Congress from the crypto industry.
Do you want to apologize to Senator Gillibrand?
I do not want you to have to apologize for passing legislation that destroys our economy.
For calling
you are distorting what I said, just like you did in the last hearing. You're wasting everybody's time, Senator.
You're a whack job.
Senator,
you are wasting.
Well, I think we are
next level whack job.
I think we are.
Is this middle school, Senator?
Senators and witness. Thank you both.
I think you should apologize, Senator.
I think, Senator, you're wasting our time. This is not middle school.
Wake up, Americans. You're about to be pulled into a war with Arabs, with the Muslim world. And you're going to be made to believe that something horrible that happened to you was done by the Muslims. But it wasn't done by the Muslims. It was done by a wild card, the Israeli MOSSAD, that's cunning and ruthless and can carry out attacks on Americans and make it look like Arabs did it.
That's the literal definition of a false flag. And you're right that that's a false flag.
That's not my conspiracy theory. That's the U.S. Army report the day before, published the day before 9/11. Yes. You can call me any name you want to call me. That's a U.S. Army report. They warned us. They were telling us what Israel is capable of doing.
The best explanation of cryptocurrency I've ever heard in my life.
Blockchains are like a constitution. What's written in it can't be violated. If this is your right as a user of the system, the operator of the system or some power like the United States or China can't come in and change it. It is what it is. Everybody in the world is treated equally. So it doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter where you're born. You have the same rights as the founders of the system. And that's just not the case in the legacy world. If you're Bill Gates or me and you use a bank, they kiss your ass. You have numbers you can call and just say, I need this and this. Oh, of course, we'll drop off a pallet of cash in front of your house. You can't do that as a poor farmer in Senegal. In a cryptocurrency, my use is identical to that farmer in Senegal's use. Then there's a question of, well, why do the tokens exist? That comes into what type of world do you want to live in? Do you want your trust infrastructure to be owned and controlled by a federated, unchanging oligarchy, or do you want it to be decentralized? When it's decentralized, no one has censorship capabilities. Nobody can come in and say, well, I don't like Sean Ryan. I don't like his content, so I'm going to kick him out. No, everybody gets to play, the good, the bad, and the ugly. In a world that's multipolar and there's all these factions fighting each other, it makes a lot of sense to have something where we have something that we all agree on is a universal good thing and we all use despite our differences. So that's what blockchain is basically selling. is it's selling this idea of objective reality. Then you can build an economic system from it. Then you can build a political system from it. Then you can build a social system from it, a way of communicating with each other. And if you have faith and belief in the underlying mathematics and the level of decentralization, then you start trusting the outputs of these systems.
Let's talk about what's going to happen July 14th. This is the most important video I think I've ever put out, so hear me out. I'm going to give you the keyword searches. Fedwire payments, XRP. That's your Google keyword search. You know how Ripple applied for the Federal Reserve account? It's for this. That's a 1 quadrillion. 1 quadrillion payment system. If they use XRP for all of it, which according to my research, it looks like that is going to be the case, that is going to make XRP worth $27,000 per token if the velocity is 10. Obviously, we watch and we wait. It's not guaranteed. It's a $1 quadrillion market, so I just divided that by 365, but I think you're picking up what I'm putting down, right? Secure your crypto. This is my only account. I am not on Twitter. I am not on Facebook. I am nowhere else. I will not help you move your crypto. It's very, very important that once this occurs, that you guys do not trust anyone. Keep your mouth shut about how much XRP you have. Do not tell anybody if you have it. By the way, this is just one. There's more to come. It's gonna keep going up. So maybe figure out what your plan is now. You should have heard me earlier. I almost passed out. Okay, so now you know what I know. Forrest and I discovered this at the same time. But if you would, please repost. I'm trying to be calm. Please repost this though, because people need to know. If you're planning on making another XRP purchase, you might want to get it in soon. You know, I don't know what's going to happen with all these treasuries and all of the companies that applied at the SEC. They might start driving up the price earlier. Because $2 is a pretty great deal on a $27,000 token. Anyway, that's what I've got. Oh my God. Okay, I love you guys. I love you so much. Okay, I'm gonna remain calm. We don't know anything yet. You know, what if they don't get the account? They're gonna get the account. I love you.
So this is my deathbed confession because now I'm dying of cancer. So I'm going to go ahead and make this video for Bart Sibrel. In 1968, my father was stationed at Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico. He was in the military police for over 20 years, and on his deathbed in 2002, we made a recording of what happened. Okay, anyway, this is the story that my dad told me on his deathbed. Project Slam Dunk was the name of this. President Johnson in 1968. Okay. In Cannon Air Force Base in 1968, he said by the time he got there, that there was already 2 large hangars that were connected. There was hundreds of dump trucks that came in and dumped sand and stone, and cement powder was powdered over the top of all that to make it look like a lunar landscape. They had men that fashioned it into a lunar landscape, he said. Okay, I've never known my dad to lie, so this all took me by surprise. You know, what's that all about? So anyway, he said that in front of the airplane hangars was pole framing with large canvas tents that was concealing the inside of the staging area. Inside the staging area, on flatbed trucks, was created the lunar lander that was reassembled back inside the hangars. All of the walls were painted flat black, and the ceilings as well. He was sworn to secrecy by the NSA, and they would put him in prison for breaking that oath. When Dad saw the moon landing on TV, he cried. He said he knew that what he had witnessed on TV was exactly what they recorded in that hangar. Dad told me all these things father to son. He also told me not to ever tell anyone what he had said, but he said on his deathbed that he had to tell somebody before he died because it was just too important not to tell.
Iraq Media Net on X, posted 6:30 a.m. 10 July 25. Translated by Grok. The Board of Commissioners approves the regulations for elections campaigns. New elections in Iraq are coming soon. Turkey to assist through PM Erdogan in driving out the corrupt Iranian proxies at the Green Zone in Iraq's parliament. Forwarded from John Dowling. On July 14, 2025, the Federal Reserve Bank FedWise service will transition to the ISO 20022 format. The cutover weekend begins on Friday, July 11 at 7 p.m. 7:11 Eastern Time, 6 p.m. CT, when the Federal Reserve opens on Sunday, July 13 at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. CT. The new format will supersede the FedWire application interface manual FAIM format. After the transition, any wires not updated to comply with the new format will be rejected by the Federal Reserve System. Eleanor Terrett on X, posted 5:05 a.m. 7/10/25. For those asking about Genius, as part of Crypto Week, the House is planning to bring it to a full vote on the floor next week, alongside Clarity and the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. If Genius passes, it will head to President Trump's desk. Clarity and Anti-CBDC will go onto the Senate. Subjective views. Alert, Justin. Federal Reserve Governor Waller says he wants a level playing field. He also stated that nothing is evolving faster or being more disruptive than the payments industry. Stablecoins will foster competition in payments, forcing banks to compete. So the Federal Reserve Governor just admitted to a RV. Level playing field, global currency reset or revaluation of all currencies on Earth. This is how all old currencies come back once you tie them to precious metals at Tier 1, Basel 4. Majid, posted on X, 7:38 a.m., July 10, 2025. Shall we say it is a effing fiesta? 48 hours left. Kathy, everything is screaming this weekend. Vicky, I pray this happens within the next 48 hours. Fiesta doesn't begin to describe how happy we will be. It will be an explosion of joy. Ricky, so would the alternative methods be to remove the problem people in Baghdad? A Ford Fiesta, I was hoping for effing Aston Martin. Majid. New region. The new region posted 6:37 a.m. July 10, 2025. The KRG has notified the US that they will only allow Baghdad 48 hours to make a decision regarding the issue of funding the Kurdistan region's civil servant employees' salaries. The new region has learned. Erbil informed Washington of alternative options they will have to pursue should this deadline not be met. NFS Access 100. According to this, they have 48 hours to establish the final rate. Liberty Alternative Solutions. This is encouraging. 48 hours. 7-11. I'm noticing. This is the consistent and correct attitude I expect from KRG. I hope Trump will pull the plug if the 48 hours produce nothing. Kurdistan doing a sovereign act. Will they separate from Iraq? Alternatives. Nation state. Currency revaluation. ? KRG should start thinking about their people, not just themselves. After 48 hours, there will be 48 hours more. I hope not. From Hustle Bitch on X. Alert, breaking. 833,000 square miles under threat. What the hell is coming tomorrow? Tomorrow's marginal storm risk just became the third largest in recorded history, and nobody's talking about it. That's not a forecast. That's a continental level event. Hail, wind, lightning tornadoes across half the damn map, and they're calling it marginal. This isn't normal severe summer weather. Half the map is in the crosshairs. It's like the atmosphere is being pulled apart. Something massive is building and fast. Source SP, NWS, Max Wallisett. Forwarded from AR. Severe Weather Outlook, Friday, July 11th, 2025. Forwarded from Jeff DEMMERS. I still believe the best chance for Iraq only to go is this Sunday morning around 1 a.m. Eastern, right at the international date line in the Pacific. This way, no country has the advantage over the other until it opens for business. The QFS is 100% operating and managing its ledger system. This is my best guess based on my analysis. Gianna Misali at Legal Fuckery. What if your mortgage was sold and that turned it into securities fraud? Would you pay a debt that was already paid and unlawful? Because 1872 Carpenter versus Longan states that once the note and the contract are separated, both become null and void. Where you send your payment each month is simply the servicer, aka debt collector. They do not own the loan. When you stand as a natural person and not the legal entity, you have to pick a side. Sometimes people either don't understand or fear standing and get tangled up in what the court is doing or saying. Keep in mind they're always trying to get you into jurisdiction. Signing a traffic citation is getting you into jurisdiction. Answering a summons is getting you into jurisdiction. Making an appearance in an administrative agency fake court is getting you into jurisdiction. While you can unwind the contract as it lacked full disclosure of the terms, which makes it fraud. It's best to not sign the contract in the first place and make getting into jurisdiction foggy. Make it 100% clear. Tell the court you have no contract that compels me to perform, no jurisdiction. What the FBI claims is a sovereign citizen is due to people not knowing that they are in the contract. Of course, you can't make a claim that a statute doesn't apply to you in contract. This is Basic Uniform Commercial Code 101. What we hang our hats on is UCC 1-302, Course of Performance. They fail at it 100% of the time. Why? Because you're the natural person and not the legal entity. The students, members of the Unalienable University, know their rights are inalienable and therefore stand as truth and fact in commerce. We are citizens, not sovereign citizens. Big difference. Follow me to freedom. Link in profile.
Daniel has a question. Go ahead, Daniel.
And with regard to the foreclosure suit, I received a letter today from the attorney of the bank, and it's essentially a notice of hearing. So, and they addressed it to the judge, I guess, presiding over the case. And it's essentially with regard to my objection to cause and demand for dismissal and the AOD. And they pretty much, and mind you, they're addressing the judge, and they said, this shall be called up for a virtual Zoom hearing before the Honorable James Sherman, Judge of the above-styled court at the hour of 8:30, July 16, or soon thereafter as counsel may be heard. So to me, it sounds like they're asking or making some sort of a motion. I mean, what do you get from this?
It's a hearing about his demand.
Yeah.
We've never seen that before.
Well, the thing is, what they're doing is they're trying to get you in their jurisdiction. See, you've renounced their jurisdiction and said, "Hey, look, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not coming, prove otherwise." Well, they don't need a hearing to prove or disprove all that.
Right.
Do you live and breathe? Yeah, you do. Do they subscribe to common law? No, they don't. Did the bank sell the debt? Yep, they sure did. It's all right there in black and white. So the only thing, did you file a copy of Joe's affidavit with that?
You're talking like to the court? I have not.
You can take and file a copy of not all the mortgage and the note and everything with it, but just a copy of Joe's affidavit.
The full thing.
Yeah, it'd be like the first 8 or 9 pages up to his signature. Right. You know, put that. You can go file that affidavit. Don't respond to their notice for hearing anything. Just go file a copy of that affidavit.
Okay, cool. And so send a copy to the bank's attorney and then copy to the court. Same deal.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, cool. And then so for something like this, like even if the judge comes back and if they do, like I'll obviously share with the group, but I'm not showing up to this thing.
No, you should never show up to anything in a state court.
Something sacred is unfolding, not in the world outside you, but in the quiet bloom within. You've walked through storms, shed old skins, and now the light is rising from your roots. Life is about to open up in ways you never imagined. This is your blooming time, and this was by ZF.